It's just to check if I could do the session in English, but looks like everybody speak English, right? Or at least understand English. Perfect. So, señor? Yeah? Okay. Bueno, sorry for being late. So we are a little like 10 minutes behind the schedule, but it's not really bad. So today, this afternoon, thank you for coming. I want to thank you for the organization. So I remember when I started with the idea to do the first DrupalCon in Costa Rica 6 years ago, and at that moment was only me and my business partner. He helped me with some, not really agree with that at the beginning. But yes, he supported me, and then finally we created the first DrupalCon, and I am really happy that now this event is handled not for only the company I am part. Now it's organized by many companies and many volunteers, and until right now is the Costa Rican must be proud. This is the biggest Drupal event in Latin America in terms of attendees and also in terms of frequency. So this is the number 7, I guess, right? So we never miss a year, and this is important to try to grow up a community. The consistency is really important, and I am really glad that every year we have new faces and new knowledge to share with our community. And thank you for all the speakers who came here to sweat a little bit. Okay, and the good to know is you feel at home, right? For many of you. So today I'm going to talk about nearly headless. I split a little bit this session because for this session. So if you have time, please go and attend. So my name is Eduardo Garcia. I am part of Know. So my name is Eduardo Garcia, as I say, but everybody knows me in open source community as Enzo. I am Colombian, but I lived 25 years in Colombia, and I used to live here in Costa Rica for 15 years, and now I live in Australia. So now I have 3 homes until now. So in 5 years, I don't know. Well, so you could find me in Twitter, Facebook, GitHub, that's everything, as Solutions. So Know is our company. We used to be known as Nexus, but now we are doing a rebranding. So maybe it's a little smaller, the light. Well, so what we do is we provide Drupal consulting for companies in USA mostly, sometimes for Canada, USA, but we could say 99% in USA, especially with Drupal agents. So we support the Drupal consult projects, which recently reached 1 million downloads. So this is a tool to help you to bring into Drupal 8. Doesn't matter if you are a Drupal user or not. So we spend a lot of time in this project because we believe in that. As well, we believe in Drupal in general. So we are a distributed company. Actually, this is a mistake. It's in 11 countries. So we have people from Mexico to Argentina and spots in Australia and in France. And we are always hiring. So if you speak English, if you know Symfony, or if you know Drupal, this is a must to have. And could be a nice to have if you know Node.js or another technology. So just tell me now. I have a business card if you want to talk after the talk. So today I am going to talk a little bit Node.js, React, Drupal, Symfony, and Webpack. All of these topics have enough material to have 2 sessions, but I am trying to compress. So Drupal with React. So this is a really extended subject, so I prepare an example about how to run a React form inside Drupal 8. But before to go to the example, so what is the idea about nearly headless? So this is like the character of Harry Potter. So this is a nearly headless guy in Harry Potter. So it's just a little bit that. So the idea is headless is not a new concept in Drupal. So actually we have that since maybe Drupal 5.6, I don't know, because we always have service. We always have in Drupal a way to connect using some API or JSON or XML or whatever. But since Drupal 8 looks like now it's more natural, like people without not a strong knowledge about the Drupal core itself could create their own apps in an easy way, and this is good. And now it's because headless is a good idea. But the problem is like as everything in life, going 100% in a technology could be a problem. Because maybe in Drupal we have too many things that we take by granted. I mean, the security, the user, the roles, the content editing, everything. We just say, because it's always there. But when you are going headless, that means you are going to build something in JavaScript, in Node.js. And Node.js is really powerful, but if you are going 100% into Node.js, that means you need to build everything. And then all the flexibility you gain with that, you are still, obviously you never lost, but then you need to invest a huge amount of hours to try to create all the things that Drupal provides. And then this is what you say, maybe it's not really good idea to go full to headless, right? So for this reason is maybe we could do something partially, right? Even if we could do something that to avoid to looks like Drupal. So it's just there, but nobody knows it's there, okay? So for this reason, I create this example. Now I am going to the demo part. So this is a Drupal 835. So if I am going to the repo, what you... No, sí está público. Sí. Okay, so what happened is this is a Drupal 8 module that you download. This is an instruction about how to download the Drupal, how to install Drupal, and how to download some libraries. So this is an example using React inline. So in Drupal 8, you have a folder libraries where you could put all the libraries you want to use. So this is just create the directory, download the files and everything. And then you install the module we are using here. So let me open the project to show some code. Okay. And if I go to so this is what I did. So I just created the folder and download React, and this is the JavaScript file. Nothing fancy, nothing really special. Okay. So sorry, this is Drupal console stuff, and this is the Drupal 8.3. So I create this. This is the Drupal module I have in the repo. So what I am trying to do is insert a React form inside a Drupal 8 controller. Why? Because my idea is the concept for React is to create single page applications. So in my mind, for me, it's like blocks in Drupal 8 or Drupal 7 or Drupal 6. So it's just a piece of information that could do something, because some people think about React elements just as a form, but remember that you could create any interaction, drag and drop or whatever. So this single page application is just some piece of JavaScript that you could insert in any place, or could be the whole application. But we need a holder to do that. So in my case, what I am doing is I create all of this using Drupal console, because I am a lazy man. So what I did is I create a Drupal 8 controller with the generate model first, then I do generate controller, and then I have an entry controller, because what I need is to use Drupal 8 routing system, Drupal 8 security, and then I have the opportunity before to render the React form to do something like maybe collect some information from an external source. Maybe Drupal 8 is a source for the list of vaccination in a state, some statistics, some census, some whatever. And when we summarize that using all the PHP form or all the Drupal power to collect all this information, then I just have the option to send that to React, and then inside React, it's just a different word, and now it looks fancy. But let me show you. So this is a simple routing in Drupal 8, and this is my controller, and I have just a holder. And what I am saying, this model is going to load React Done, and in my case, I am going to say React.form. And React.form is just a library definition inside my module. And if I go to my search library, what I am saying is this is the definition for React, and React DOM and React Form. So this is not a session about Drupal development, but the idea is right now we are, maybe imagine it's not React.js, it's React.15.js, but in my attachment in the form, I include a generic name. So even if I update the React version, I just need to update in one single point, and all reference to that will be immediately updated. And a library is not a JavaScript. It could be a conjunction of resources. In my case, it's a JavaScript file in a combination with a CS file, right? Because this is exactly what people know, like a ES6, ES7. For me, it's just a fancy name for front ends to cherish more, right? It's just the last JavaScript version. That's it, right? So maybe you are a little behind and you are in JavaScript 2010 or something. But when someone says, oh, it's an ES6 application, you mean it's a JavaScript application? Yeah, you're right. It's a JavaScript application. But as a JavaScript application with this combination, it's not only JavaScript file, it's a CSS file. Could be images, could be a lot of stuff, right? And I am going to show the code. I am going to, one second, increase the font a little bit. Here, I'll say, okay. Okay, this is a React application. So I am attaching, so you see a button, an element in a select box, and this is a create element form. Okay, this is the problem. I will reduce a little bit the font. The font. 1 second. This maybe is too much. It's too much. Okay. Okay. This is React, and this is the problem I found with React. React, when you go to the Facebook application, looks ugly and unuseful. And I don't know why, but they are really doing a great job selling bad the product. And they have the same problem with the underscore and backbone. It's the same problem because you see that you feel like you are in 2005 or beyond. Like, what is the point to create this? If I could write just the HTML, it's not the point, right? So in the instruction, I am going to use Drupal console here to run a server of Drupal just to show the form. And then I am going to check the form. This is, I am loading here the controller of Drupal, and this is a form, but this is not HTML. This is React. And maybe you get the same conclusion as I did the first time. This is ugly, right? But forget about that, and later I will show you something more specific. So the good thing is you can imagine you could modify your template to disappear everything of Drupal, and then you have your form. Now your application could look fancy, maybe really interactive, and your user, he didn't really need to know that he is inside Drupal. But now you get a lot of things that you could have in Drupal, because before everything, you are inside the controller. So that means you have everything that you could be possible created before that to create that. Because I know the API system is good, right? But the React elements, they have the option that you could inject properties. And this is my opinion, so I prefer to deliver as immediately as much as content I could. Like maybe I know what user is connected. I know he is speak Russian, so I get the translation and put immediately. Instead of to load the JavaScript, use the JavaScript to detect the language of the browser, then create an API call, get the strings, and then render. So later, obviously, we can use API, but you have the option to inject all the content there. Okay? So this is ugly, but this is React. So you could continue and do that. And as I say, you can think about this in third blocks. So you could create different elements of this. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. Okay, now, Symfony. So now, obviously, Drupal 8 is built on top of Symfony, so that means we could create similar stuff using Symfony. So I want to show you a demo using Symfony. So in this repo, why is not going? This is 2. So this repo is a full Symfony application. So you just need download the application, install the composer dependencies, the Node.js dependency, and then run a Webpack stuff. I am going to explain later in the other session, and then start a server. So I already did that because I doesn't trust. I didn't want to wait for the internet here. I am going to start a server here. And this is the example. Okay. Okay. So this is a Symfony application, nothing really fancy. But if I follow the repo, they say I need to go to this endpoint. And this, I am going to reduce the form. Okay, this is a fancy form. Okay, and this is React. Believe me or not, is the difference. So what is the difference between this and the other? It's like a React is similar to Backbone. So they create an architecture. It's really powerful, but it's more useful for user interface perspective when you use some libraries that you put on top. In my case, and there are other cases, I used a library created by the Alibaba Group. How many of you know what is Alibaba Group? No, this is a giant of the internet in China. So everything maybe you are wearing or having in your pockets is delivered for Alibaba. So they have a finance department. They say Ant, like Hormiga. And they say, we like this UX. They also have some projects for Angular or something, but we don't like how they looks. Okay, because this is the problem. Now I tell you about the problems to be going full in JavaScript or Node.js, but there are other problems. We have in Node.js and npm.js.com a lot of packages to do whatever you want, right? This is the bless and the curse of JavaScript, right? Why is that? Because imagine as a developer, you say, I have this form now, I have a grant, I need a pipe, I need a slider, I need that. And certainly you could find any single provider to do that, but when you put that in a single form, it's a problem because each component has different API, and then you need to learn all of them. So this is a problem because it doesn't provide consistency. And now imagine you are saying, I am saving time doing that because I don't need to code. But now you need to spend a lot of time for your designer because now he needs to do a lot of effort to say, hey, all these things that were created separated must look the same. So you are spending a lot of time in less files and CS files and SAS files to try to create a cohesive component. So when you use some stuff like here, like the form I am using here, is like they provide all elements for form, but they also have a slider, they have cascader, they have stuff like this. This is a cascader, which is fancy. When you try to create this, you are spending a lot of hours. So that means everything looks okay. If you want to change the UI, you just need to modify the same less file, and everything is good. And the other good thing is like you need to learn only one API. And now, now I'm going to look in the code of the application. This is Costa Rica. This is Symfony. As I told you, this is a Symfony application So this is my form. Let me decrease the size of the font. Okay. So the good thing in React, now this looks totally different than the other. Now, because this is using the last specification of the last version of JavaScript. So now you are able to create classes, create objects, to provide properties. Even better than that, if you see here, I am importing for undefined components. So you have components for form, checkbox, tooltips, whatever you want. And each of these components is what I am using here. Okay, so like this is a checkbox, this is a form item, and this is a button. So that means now your developers, they don't need to learn HTML. Because, I mean, we are in 2017. Why we need to learn HTML? So this is the job for the preprocessors of everything. You need to learn about how to use the components and what API is created. And what I like of this process is like we could separate the development and the front end. So this looks maybe almost good, but also they have some consistency, and then you could, but you don't need to include inline CSS or something because this is already there. And you reduce your time of development because all the things I did in the form, here like a validate email, check if two functions password are equal, resizing and everything is almost created using that. Now, how I insert this inside a symphony? So if we check the composer JSON file, the magic happened here. This is a Limius React bundle. What they create, they use some elements for Ruby on Rails, but in reason what they do is they create a new Twig function because you register components in your application and then you insert those components in your Twig. So if I go to this is a function. This is not the standard for Twig. This is provided for that provider in Composer. They say, I am going to use registration, and I am going to render in client side because they have an option for both, and then I include in the script. So this is good. Remember, I say you could create components and think about this as block, but that means you need to know what is the name of the holder, the ID. But when you insert many of them, then you need to be aware when you are coding what IDs are you using in order to connect. And if you are reusing amount pages, that could be a problem. So what they do is the Twig, they create dynamically the holder and then associate the register and put it in that. And I have the options here actually as any Twig component to send parameters. So I mean, what I do is in Symfony, I send parameters to the Twig, and inside the Twig, I send parameters to the React component. That makes sense? Okay, so we have two levels. So we get in Symfony, we control all the security, routing, and whatever we have. So we have a lot of information, and we decided maybe we will send a parameter to render in Twig. And inside Twig, they say, okay, this is going to React. And now the React application doesn't know anything about Symfony because this is a separate world, right? And now I am operating with the data we have, and the endpoints could be the same Symfony or could be another Drupal application or whatever you want. Okay? Any question until here? Good. Okay, he is asking why I didn't use Webpack with Drupal in purpose. This is the same way the React form in Drupal looks ugly. It's just to show like I'm going to show a mention in a minute. It's like in Drupal I use React inline, right? So that means if I load this page using a old browser like Internet Explorer 10 or something like that, or if you include React, you need to include another inline library named Babel, and then that creates the transformation inline and everything happening in the client. This is possible, but this is a bad idea, because then that's means your client is going to get a latency meanwhile the process happens. So this is a bad idea, and I just want to show you. In this case, what I am going to show you here, what Alfredo is asking, is Bill? No. Where are the instructions? Room dep. And this is part of my next session. Is ideally, when you are creating React application, you need to use a tool like Webpack. So, because this is the other problem, and this is what I am going to tackle in the next session. And this is why many people don't use Node.js application, because this amount of size, 1.6 files for a form, is not useful, right? And it's because I am not using properly Webpack. I am going to show you in the next session. So there are some techniques to try to compress that. And why we need Webpack? Because remember, we are using the latest version of JavaScript. So we have really good components in Node.js to create transitions or create whatever, but that doesn't work in all browsers. So that requires, what do is to do a transformation in the code to transform in the 2014 JavaScript version in order your single web application will be distributable or executable for any of the forms. But this is a bad implementation of Drupal. So in the Drupal form, what I did, I include React and React Dune and my application. In this example, I am creating a full package with everything, but because I made all this package, I am getting this side of the file. But this is really solvable with other techniques that I am going to explain in a session. So as a summary, what I want to show you is like you don't need to lose everything good that you get from Symfony or you get from Drupal. And you could continue using the good things you have in React and try to get the best of the both worlds. No? And also, and the most important thing is like React is good, but it's better when you use with proper library to do that. In my case, there are some libraries. Being honest, I am not a really good fan of Angular, because you need to create two things, and I prefer the whole separation. Imagine like if you create a component for a Symfony application in your client, and then you create a small application for a different approach, you could take this and put in a different. But if you create it with Angular, this is a little tricky. The other good thing using React is React Native, because that's mean as a company we never be concentrated as a mobile application. One, because everybody do application. Okay. So what happened is I need to hire someone for maybe 3 months to create an application, and after 3 months, because I don't have any other mobile application, I need to fire them. But if I have this guy who maybe knows Node.js, knows React, he could help me with a small application for React, for Symfony, and he could reuse the 60% of the knowledge into create native application. I'm not totally sure, but I heard like Ionic, the version for Angular, what they do is they create a webpack something, which is a iframe or something. Say? WebView. The React Native, they actually compile in native code. And also, this library, they have a mobile version for React. Because what they say is React from scratch looks ugly, and they say the company's standard for Android and iPhone looks ugly, and they create their own UX in many projects. Okay. And this is the repo for Symfony. And I don't know if you have questions. You can say the question in English if you want, or in Spanish if you want. No? Okay. We are behind 10 minutes, so thank you so much, and see you around the camp.